The Arizona State Sun Devils, of course, a fixture in recent years in contention in the Pac-12 South. We'd like to talk some Sun Devil football with Kaelen Jones. He writes for the Arizona State media site, the paper out there, the State Press. Kaelen, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Mark. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Love to cover as many teams as possible. Of course, the Sun Devils wrapped up spring ball a couple weeks ago on April 10th with the spring game. Your quarterback situation on the surface, you lose a really good one in Taylor Kelly, outstanding touchdown to interception ratio, 22-5. But of course, got a guy that's coming in, and this is unlike a lot of teams that we cover and talk about around college football that have to look for a quarterback. Maybe you have a three-man battle, but in this case, you got Mike Bercovici, who has stepped in admirably, the 510 yards against USC, of course, the Hail Mary, big Stanford game and a win over the Cardinal. Just your thoughts about his development at this point.
Oh, Berco's class. We call him Berco out here. He's definitely a class act. 1,400 yards and I believe the 3 or 4 starts that he had last season. So like you said, Mark, this is a rare situation in college football where you kind of transition over from an established quarterback who's been there for 4 years and Taylor Kelly, arguably the greatest in school history, to a guy who's really kind of prepared to really step in and take hold of this team as a leader, and he's definitely demonstrated that. I think that he's going to do extremely well. I know that the offense has been more spread and catered to maybe more scrambling quarterbacks in the past, but you're looking at a guy in Bercovici who's passing ability is above average, if not better than anything that the team has had in recent seasons. I know that he's limited in terms of athleticism, but in terms of being able to spread the ball out, that's something the receivers have really been able to like talk about in terms of Bercovici, just his skill set, and they really enjoy playing with him. I think he has a cannon arm. They'll be able to figure out how to utilize his skill set in forming the offense around him instead of kind of, sticking to what they've been used to having in a scrambling quarterback in Taylor Kelly. I think the transition is going to be very smooth.
Yeah, I think there were some point spreads that swung quite a bit out there, and it's just some perception and thought going into that first start. Taylor Kelly's out. Wow, they're playing USC. It's going to be difficult, but of course he showed that he can really sling it around. And I'm gonna remember Berco. I'll just go with that in the future. Good stuff there. Of course, we're not going to have to wait that long, I believe, on Thursday night to hear the name of Jalen Strong taken off the board at the NFL draft in Chicago. An amazing specimen in regards to getting downfield, outfighting defenders for the football, being able to frame up the ball and high point it. Just a big receiver with incredible skills. Your thoughts about what's coming back to replace him? We got Cameron Smith with 41 receptions and 6 touchdowns, but how did the wide receivers shape up and the progress this spring?
It's going to be interesting. And, we talked about before the show, Mark, DJ Foster is going to be transitioning back over to receiver. And he manned the slot pretty much. He handled duties out of the slot last season. And he was recruited actually as a receiver coming to ASU. So the transition is sort of seamless. He came in, I believe he had 20% of the targets last season from both Taylor Kelly and Mike Bercovici. So you're not losing too much there. Cameron Smith is a big loss. He actually tore his ACL during off-season training, so he'll be out for the season. So ASU's receiving corps, with the loss of Strong, with the loss of Cameron Smith, 2 of your leading receivers, not named DJ Foster, out there. But you have guys who can step up potentially in Ellis Jefferson, who had a pretty good spring game. I believe he caught like a 50-yard bomb or 2. And then you're looking at guys like Gary Chambers, who have been there for a while, Frederick Gamage, a guy in the slot who is still developing, and you know that eventually the team's going to work him in, but he's been seeing more reps. So I think that the receiving corps in general, just because of the fact that Bercovici knows how to spread the ball out, you're going to get more production out of the group regardless of who's there. I know that you're losing a big guy in Strong who, again, he caught himself, he had 40% of the targets last season. So you're definitely losing a big piece there. But I think that going forward, I think this receiving corps is going to be able to really step up just because of the ability of Bercovici, and he'll be able to spread the ball and get the most talent out of the receiving corps that's still there.
So what you mentioned with DJ Foster ties right into the running game. Foster, 1,000 yards as a rusher, 9 touchdowns, 62 receptions out of the backfield. One of the the better productivity lines in college football. So how does this the utilization of Foster tie into the running game, and how do you see the distribution of workload back there?
Well, you're looking at a guy in Demario Richard, who was a freshman last season, a true freshman, ended up totaling, I believe, 400 yards on the ground, had 4 touchdowns. He spelled DJ Foster when he wasn't working out of the backfield, and he did extremely well. He's only going to be 18 years old as a true sophomore next season, and he'll be taking on the primary back role next year. And then on top of that, you're looking at kind of a two-headed horse with Kaelen Balaj, who's another true freshman from last season, coming in as a sophomore. He's more the power back as well. Big guy, 6'3", 205 pounds. ASU is going to be able to really take advantage of their dynamic ability out of the backfield between the two. And then on top of that, you're adding a guy in Gump Hayes. Last season was ineligible. Comes in as a redshirt junior. He did pretty well in the spring game. Has a few big runs. You're looking at a guy who's going to be really versatile. I believe they worked him in a kickoff and punt return as well. So he brings the speed out of the backfield. But just looking in general, I think that just the history of Mike Norvell and Todd Graham's offenses, you're going to be able to get production regardless of who's in the backfield. And I think Demario Richard is someone who is potentially on the verge of having a breakout season next year, should he see the primary carries, which and most likely he will.
All right, Kaelen Jones joins us from the Arizona State student media site, the State Press. Kaelen, let's look at the defense here. I'm just going to throw it out, a broad stroke look at the defense, and you can take it from there, because we're used to the Sun Devils having speed all over the place and athletes all over the place. Your thoughts about what you have coming back, maybe some gaps that need to be filled, what you heard about spring practice in regards to some progress, and maybe some guys that we haven't necessarily heard of that could be impact players coming up this fall.
Well, the interesting thing is, Mark, that ASU has always been, at least Todd Graham's defenses, they've always been known for getting after the quarterback. I think in his first year, they averaged 3 sacks a game, did the same thing last year, racking up 39 over the course of the year. The biggest loss probably in that regard is going to be Marcus Hardison, who had 10 sacks last season. But regardless, I think that the team will be able to eventually overcome that loss. I think DJ Calhoun is someone that can step up and immediately bring in exciting pass rush off the edge. I'm not sure whether or not anyone else will be able to replicate that kind of production you're looking at. But the linebacking corps in the secondary, I think that they're gaining a bit more continuity, and that's something that they struggled with early on in the season. But you're looking at a guy, just touching on the secondary, Jordan Simone, who came on as a walk-on now. He's, I believe he earned all Pac-12 honorable mention last season at safety. Him and Demarius Randall created a phenomenal tandem in the backfield of that secondary. Even though you're losing Demarius Randall, you have a guy in, I believe, James Johnson, who's really starting to come along, as well as Marcus Ball. They're still trying to figure out where everybody can fit at, but I think that this young secondary, as well as their young linebacking corps, I think that they've grown over the course of that, I believe, like the final 4 or 5 games last season, and they've carried it in the spring practice, because the spring training game, they pretty much dominated it. Bercovici didn't look too comfortable back there for too long because of the defense and the way that they really kind of stepped up in that game. And I think they're going to be the unit that kind of carries this team. I know that Todd Graham would love that, and I think that's going to happen this year.
All right, Kaelen, when I get guys like you on that I can really dig in deep on personnel and what's going on there, I see the big games. I see the bowl games, catch Arizona State, like a lot of the big-name teams across the country, 2 or 3 times, trying to cover everyone and trying to keep track of everyone. So your thoughts about where this team stands, where the program stands in regards to the expectations. Have the expectations possibly changed under Todd Graham, and just the general vibe or feeling around this program at this point?
Oh, yeah, they've changed a bit, and it's in a positive way. Last season, breaking in, I believe, in the top 5, almost reaching the college football playoff had we not lost to Oregon State. It was exciting, and, Todd Graham has high expectations. I believe that after the spring training game, he said he wants to go 15-0, and that's what he expects out of this team. There's high expectations all around for this football team, and the sky's the limit. He said that this is the best football team or I believe that this is the best team heading into spring that he said, or commenting on the team. So I think that this team definitely has the potential to be really great. You see the talent, and it's definitely there. And we'll see whether or not they can put it together and make a stretch or make a run towards the end of the season. But this team definitely comes back as one of the better teams in the Pac-12. So there's definitely high expectations.
Yeah, and that Pac-12 South is loaded. The SEC West gets a lot of pub, but wow, when you stack up USC, UCLA, Arizona State, Arizona, Utah, there's not really a lightweight in the division. It's top to bottom, extremely deep, extremely strong. I'm gonna have to say, Kaelen, I was a bit surprised that you lost to Arizona in that final game. I thought you were a much better football team, or substantially better, but lost a shootout in that one.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. And, you know, the quarterback situation during the game where we literally switched out TK for Berco, it just didn't come together at that point. You know, it was unfortunate. But
right. Good stuff, Kaelen. Kaelen Jones of the Arizona State student media site, the State Press, joins us. Hey, Kaelen, at some point in the summer, would love to catch up with you, talk some Arizona State football as they get into August drills, talk about the schedule, that sort of thing. Hopefully we can track you down.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, Mark. Thank you again for having me.